Chargers fans, I got some bad news for you. The team is still going to be rebuilding this roster in 2025. Why, you ask? Well, I've done the research. So let me explain to you exactly why the team's going to still be rebuilding in year two under Harbaugh in this week's episode of Chargers Corner. Let's go. So, what do we have and what do we need and going into the 2025 offseason? So I really do believe you need a solid running back because I think you need somebody that's going to really be able to complement JK. If you bring him back in the perfect world, you bring him back and you get him another guy that can have that level of juice that he has, that he brings to the offense when he's healthy. So I think you need somebody that can supplement him. I think that's definitely a need. I think you need two wide receivers. I really think you need to focus on the idea that you need two good wide receivers to go along with Lad McConkey and let him play the slot. You need two solid outside receivers. Point blank, period. Full stop. You need two outside receivers. That is definitely a need for this team going forward. You also need a starting tight end that can catch passes. You know, Will Disley and Hayden Hurst and all these guys that were filling in, Tucker Fisk and all these guys, Scott Matlock, are not tight ends. They're blockers. They're straight up and down blockers. They don't catch the football. And I think that's a hindrance to Justin Herbert's ability to throw the football. So I think you need a solid pass catching tight end to go with at that number one spot for this team. And going back to my point, you need three interior linemen. I think you need to replace the center and both guards. The tackles are great. Tackles are fine. You need to fix the three interior line because, again, that was the sore spot of this team and the pressure packages that got to Justin Herbert a lot in this particular outfit of 2024. The interior O-line was a problem. You need to fix that soon. I also think you need to upgrade edge. Edge needs to be upgraded. I think you need to get faster and more dynamic at that position. Looking at combinations of the likes of Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk, and Kobe Turner, and those guys who have speed at the position on top of power, who can not only chase down mobile quarterbacks, but they can get to the quarterback at a more higher clip. I think we need to upgrade the edge position. I think that's a need. That's a need because there's no way that you pay Khalil Mack. I love Khalil Mack, but there's no way you pay Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Thule, and Bud, you know, a line share almost like $50 million, and you get 12 sacks out of them. I'm freestyling, but I think it's because Thule had 8, Joey had 5, I think Khalil had 5, so that's 18 sacks. And maybe Bud had like 3 or 4. So you get 20 sacks for $50 million in a 17-game season. I think that's porous. I think that's porous. Again, you see playoff teams get 8, 6, and 7, 8 sacks a game with a combination of rookies. So I think the team needs to really address the idea that the edge needs to get better. In all honesty, the edge needs to get better, in my opinion. And you need a number one corner. I mean, to round it out, you need a number one corner. Again, I like Cam Hart and Kentucky Steele, but I'm not sure if they're number one cover guys. We struggled in man coverage a lot. We had to play a lot of zone this year. So go out and get yourself a man coverage corner if it's on the market, you can afford it, and a guy that's going to be able to play man coverage and take away a number one receiver on other people's teams. Because until you do that, it's going to be a struggle to defend the pass, especially with the pass rush being what it is. So what you have at this point is about $63 million in cap space. $63 million in cap space, you have that to spend. It's not a lot, but it's not nothing. I think you can go out and get yourself 3 to 4 quality top end players, or maybe 5 to 6 to 7, decent to middle of the pack players. It depends on how you want to attack it. And you also have 8 draft picks. And I will preface this by saying this because I'm going to do a lot of draft coverage between now and April. But I don't believe that this draft is deep like last year's draft was. I think it's top heavy from a talent perspective, but the ace in the hole is Harbaugh, and him knowing the college kids for the next 3 years or who and how their talent level is and what they have the potential to do, because he recruited a lot of these guys because he was a college coach a year ago. So I would argue that he has some insight on what some college kids that may not be on everybody's radar he can fill in for, like I'm getting Cam Hart and Tape still and them playing well. But you can't bank on that but so much. And I think that outside of the first 3 rounds in this draft, it's going to be hard pressed to get really good high-end talent. So I would argue that, 8 picks might need to condense down to 5 or 6 and maybe move up in the draft to get better quality players. But, you cross that bridge when you get there. But you do have 8 picks going into this round of draft picks. So what do you do? So what do you do? So here are potential free agent targets that kind of hit my radar that I think they might be a good addition to the team. So starting with running back, Nick Chubb's going to be a free agent. Now, I understand he's coming off that leg injury, gruesome enough. That's the second one of his, and he's longer in the tooth. I believe he's 28 now. So you have to weigh that option and how much he was going to cost you to bring him in. But he is a viable option. Javonte Williams from the Denver Broncos, he's going to be a free agent, assuming he does not resign. I would say that he's a viable option in his skill set, and he might want to play against his old team. And Jalen Warren, I think he's might be a viable option as well, but I have the sneaky feeling that the Steelers going to resign him because Najee Harris is also a free agent. I don't believe he's going to let him and Jalen Warren walk in free agency without paying one of them. So I would argue they're going to probably bring Jalen Warren back, but he is technically going to be a free agent this year. The wide receivers is a little bit interesting. Of course, everybody knows about T. Higgins being on the market. Stephon Diggs, who's coming off ACL, he's going to be on the market. Keenan Allen, Terrace Marshall, they all going to be on the market. I would argue that you could probably target maybe two of these guys on this list. His potential pays. Maybe Keenan will come back on a cheap deal, and you're going to have to pay T. Higgins top dollar. So you're probably looking at $20-25 million a year. So, that's going to eat into your $63 million, but I might end up paying it because you need it. So, but that's just, we'll see how the front office views it. But I definitely believe that T. Higgins and Keenan Allen are good targets. Irv Smith in a terrible free agent class for tight ends is on the radar. I do like Josh Myers from the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay develops O-line well. They really do. And Josh Myers was Corey Linsley's back replacement, reason why they let Corey Linsley go. And he's been a very solid piece in that D-line, and the O-line, for the last 4 years. So if he hits the market, I would definitely go after Josh Myers in free agency. Dalton Reisman is another older but solid guard that you can maybe target. Edge, you got Josh Sweat, Chase Young, Marcus Davenport, and Kayvon Chason on the edge. I like Josh Sweat and Caleb Vaughn more so because they're speed guys. They have speed and they're really good at speed rushing. So they can keep up with one more mobile quarterbacks, your Mahomes, your Josh Allens, and Lamar Jacksons of the world, Kyler Murray's, CJ Stroud's. They can keep up with them more so. Chase Young and Marcus Davenport more power guys, but you need a little bit of both. So maybe if these guys are going to be, maybe on the less expensive side, I would target them in free agency. Cornerback, CJ Henderson is going to be on the market. I really love Eric Stokes. He was a really underrated cornerback for Green Bay as well. Paulson Adebo was really good. He is coming off a leg injury, though, so he might be cheap, but maybe working his way back from injury. Adoree Jackson, although he's 29 at this point, I really like his athleticism. I think he doesn't get a credit he deserves or put in the right positions in a lot of spaces. So I think he could be good as a veteran to bring in at a cheap price. So I would look at Adoree Jackson as well. And Matt Ariza, if the Chiefs let him go in free agency, I would target him as a punter because J.K. Scott is on the free agency list as well. So what is my proposed strategy what they should do really quickly? For agency, this is what I would do. I would go after T. Higgins and pay him what he wants to be paid as a number one wide receiver going forward, him and Justin Herbert. I would pay Keenan Allen a veteran salary that would he feel comfortable coming back to the team with. I would target Josh Myers as well to get yourself a center because you'd absolutely positively need a center in this offense, in this low line to solidify the pass protection. Because again, the center on out, if that was not right, that's the reason why you have internal O-line pressure issues. I will also look at Caleb Chason as a cheap option as a speed rusher and a spy rusher that can keep up with these mobile quarterbacks, and go after Eric Stokes as a corner. I really like Eric Stokes as a corner. He can play slot and outside. If you line up him and Darren in the slots and Taheeb and Cam on outside, I really like that combo with Elijah Molden and Tony Jefferson playing the deep corners, deep safeties. I like that combination, like the secondary room. So I would definitely go after that. In the draft, I would do this. And again, this is my first iteration. This thing's going to change as we go on, but I would draft a wide receiver with pick 22. I would trade up in the second round to give myself a tight end, and I would address those two issues and keep that as a young, viable and talented piece that's going to grow with Justin Herbert. In the third round, I would go get myself an interior lineman that would fill that void at right guard, hopefully. Get myself a backup running back with JK in the fourth round. Fifth round, I would go after a safety or free or strong or a corner, depending on who's available. Sixth round, I would go after inside linebacker to add to the depth of Junior Colson and Deion Henley. And then sixth round will give me a best player available or a backup quarterback to go along with Justin Herbert because, again, you're losing both backup quarterbacks, so you want to need at least one. And then seventh round, if it's available, if it's there, you don't trade up. Best player available. That's what I would do. But that's, in a nutshell, that's where it breaks down to. So I definitely think that it should be that and hopefully that will build the roster out. But as I said in the beginning, the 2025 season is going to be step 2 in the rebuild. We're not going to be at a contending moment yet because we're going to have to develop chemistry. We're going to have to get guys in. We're going to have to get the right picks. And this isn't the perfect world. You have to understand that the ultimate goal for Harbaugh and them is to build a contender. But I think it's going to be another year out, in my opinion. I will say that this team is still going to win this way into the playoffs, going forward. But I'm not sure if you're going to be able to knock off the likes of the Bills or the Ravens or the Chiefs just yet, based upon the rebuild that you're going to be under. So, and looking at who you have to face in 2025 season, you got to face the NFC East and the AFC South. So I believe that the Houston Texans aren't going anywhere. The Colts should be better. We'll see what the Jaguars and the Titans do. But the NFC East is going to be tough. The Giants should get themselves a quarterback, so they're going to be better. Clearly the Eagles are going to be good, and clearly the Commanders are going to be good. And we don't know about the Cowboys, whoever the coach is going to be and going forward. But those particular opponents right there is going to be tough. On top of the fact that you got your division. The Raiders should be better. They always play us tough, although they might still be the 4th place team. The Broncos are going to keep getting better as the playoff team, and the Chiefs aren't going anywhere either. So you got 4 to 6, maybe I would say arguably 6 good games in your division on top of having 4 to 5 good games outside of division just on who you play alone. So take that into account. Take that into your mental Rolodex for going forward. But I do believe that this is going to be a slower rebuild than we think. But I'm not saying that it's not going to be a winning model. I still think this is going to be a playoff team every year Harbaugh is here, with the talent you have. But it's going to be a build that's going to take maybe one more year to really get to the point where they look like a roster that's going to be able to contend and compete with the top dogs in the AFC. So that's where it lands for me. But as always, let me know in the comments how you feel about it. Always please drop a subscription if you can. As always, and I'm going to be covering this out throughout the offseason, and we'll get to how we feel about things as the free agency gets closer. But that's my first iteration. Let me know how you feel about it. Give me some alternative ideas that I might be missing, and we'll discuss it and we'll get to it. And as always, we'll catch you on the next video. But until then, as always, you got to step up to lock it down.